So the disability standards in education, because I have been looking at this again, year 11 last week because of some issues with school. It's really important that you get to know this document. And what it does is that it is talking about access. It is not talking about results. So the disability standards in education does not say your child should have a good teacher and your child should learn a lot, right? It doesn't say about the outcome. What it's talking about is access. Your child should be enrolled in exactly the same way as a child without a disability. Your child should be able to demonstrate their learning in some way, just like a child without a disability. Your child should be able to learn in the classroom in a way like a child without a disability. Now, our kids have barriers. We talked about this social model, barriers. So I'm going to talk about my daughter, and the barriers that she faces. What you need to do is start thinking about your child. What are the barriers that is stopping them being able to learn the content that's being presented in the classroom? What is the barrier? And how then can we remove the barriers? So start creatively thinking about how we can remove the barrier. So my daughter, I mentioned, has an intellectual disability, so one of her barriers is processing speed. It takes her, she can learn anything. I'm absolutely confident she can learn anything. But it takes her longer to learn it, and therefore if the class is learning a set amount of content, maybe she needs less content or less output so that she can actually get the content because she's actually got this, the teacher has a time frame that she needs to look at. So we need to adjust. Maybe she needs to do less questions for homework. Maybe she needs a little less content and only the key points. Okay, so that's removing the barrier of the content. Jackie's mentioned about handwriting. How does your kid communicate what they know? My daughter is not strong verbally, and there's some outcomes in school that have to do with verbal communication. However, if there's another way to present it, maybe you video at home instead of actually present the speech in class. Maybe, so with the barrier being verbal, we got to think, what can we do to actually help Grace demonstrate that what she learns without her having to give a verbal answer. Okay? Sometimes it's about preparation. So if she knows that she has to actually present something in class with an answer, she prepares it the night before, practices it, and then she can do it more confidently, and that's how she can show it. Removing the barrier. Okay? So we're going to just show a couple of, these are all reasonable adjustments. Okay? So she this is her participating in assemblies. And it's really, she's not strong verbally, I said, so the teacher was always looking out for what's an equal good role to give Grace that is not a verbal one. So she's the wind. The wind doesn't have to say anything, just flaps across the stage. And here she's a twin with her friend, and her friend did the talking. She just had to mimic her friend. Absolutely perfect for her. Here's an adjustment she did herself in the playground. She, I'm quite unco, and she's got munchies. And so she figured out very quickly that skipping was not her thing in the big thing. She'd hold everybody up and everybody would be grumpy. But she could definitely turn the skipping rope, and everybody loved that because they got more turns and didn't have to turn it herself. And she's fully included in the thing. School excursions. That's a tricky one. You have to figure out what does an excursion involve? What are the barriers my child is going to have to actually participate fully in the excursion? This was the bike safety one that they do at the police center, and the barrier was that Grace was going to be on a non-geared bike that they had there, and she actually was quite confident on her own bike. So we had to wangle away that we were able to get her bike over there, so she used her bike and was able to competently then participate in the excursion instead of, she was actually going to be put in the non-riding group, even though she could ride because they couldn't figure out what they could do with her. So again, looking, what's the barrier, how can I get around the barrier?